everybody get their grades? And the reason I say that is because D2L had some issues, and I checked off everybody on the list, but I have no way of telling if it went out.
Yeah, I haven't seen that with me yet.
Okay, because there was one, I got interrupted by somebody when I was doing some of the grades, and I think it was, I was like halfway down through the list, and I'm like, I think I sent that one. And then I came back, and there's really no, when you go back into D2L, there's no real way to tell how many went out. It does send me an email, but it takes a while to send the email. It copies me on everything that I've sent.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, did everybody get their grades?
Well, we don't have any grades in D2L, but we have it in email.
Right, you got them on a spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet
Yes.
and email, yeah.
Yep.
I got it.
All right, good. And there wasn't any from today because they were, well, there were some in there that people had
Current class.
done their
is really
assignments
done
and
your registering
they were
for.
up to date on their assignments. So,
What do I have to?
test next week, it will be on basic solids with fillets. I would say the fillets is probably
That's not
the
exactly how it did.
hardest part of the
Oh.
test. It's not a hard solid to build, but some of the fillets are tricky on it. And I only have one assignment tonight for everybody. I'm gonna send it right now. Now, I wanna tell you a little bit about this part. You see it in CATIA right now because I turned it into a step file. I actually did this last year when I was taking an NX update class, and I built it in NX. And I looked at it the other day in NX, and I was like, the tree was fine, but the tree, if you build it in CATIA, it's very small. In NX, it was like a mile long. Couple tricks to this part. If you look at this slide, it shows you that the bottom is just straight, okay? But the top, if you look at that, it's straight here, but then it's got this feature that tapers up into the top. When I built it in NX, what I did was I built this as a pad, or I should say an extrusion, just this shape, just like it is here. And then I built another one off this, I built another sketch on this, and I pushed it up. And if you look, because it becomes tangent right at the front. So you can see what it does at the front, okay? So you can either put another solid in there and slice it off if you turned it into an actual pad. But just remember, it's controlled down here. So you've got to slice that thing off at that angle. And you got to figure that out, what that angle actually is. And in this part as well, when I built that second pad for the top feature, all I did for these subtractions was I built one sketch with 3 shapes in it, and they were overbuilt. They came out past the part, and then I did the subtraction out of that. And the reason I did the subtraction out of that, I actually filleted that solid, and then I subtracted it out because it gave me all this stuff that was free. Because I tried to build it without subtracting out another piece, and the fillets here just they didn't look right. So in this view, there, if you want to build another solid, you build one of the 3 features and subtract it out. And if you put a fillet on the edge of that pad or that pocket, then it'll come out just like this. If you notice too, if you look at this drawing, the fillets are 1/8 of an inch, but if you look at right here, there's a half an inch and half an inch down here. And if you notice, look at the way they've got the fillets drawn in that technical illustration. There's no blends on them. And I'll show you the bottom side of this. If you blend it, you won't get what you want. So these are, if you look at this, this is basically what they've got on this part. They don't have any transitions where you turn the corner. So this one's a half, this one's a half, and then the rest of those are an eighth. And if you look, like I said, at the sketch, or I should say the technical illustration, you can see that the only transition they have is up here on the top. These are all running straight out. And you can see right here, obviously, this is just a sharp corner that comes off that. And on the opposite side, it's a sharp corner as well. And the biggest reason that it doesn't have any fillets that transition from here, that turn the corner the correct way, is because if you look at this illustration, they show these are just straight lines. So if you had an eighth of an inch here and here, obviously these would come around the corner and turn. And that's why at the top it's the same way. It's all on the, I'll call it on the inside of this and on the inside of these guys. So you can do this second pad any way you want at the top. You could actually build it from the side, and but this shape is obviously what it's got to follow. And then obviously later on comes all the fillets on the part, unless you build them into this piece. Any questions? It's practice for your test next week.
So are those ribs tangent with the top point of that arch? Those two side ribs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, what it is if you look
They're
at
not
it.
actually tangent with where they end on that arc.
Correct. You have to come over to the flat and then make that a tangent line off that.
Okay.
But that's why I said if you build another pad up off that and then take a plane and slice it off, it'll give you that angle that you need. Because if you try and build them as separate pieces, right, then you got two ribs there, and then you've got to come back and cut it off. And that's what through trial and error, when I filleted that, it never looked good through this transition right here. It didn't look right.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, what would happen is when you looked at it from the front, it looked like something, like it was, it actually looked like from the front, like it was curling up. And if you look at it in the plan view, if you look right there, everything is exactly the way it needs to be. In other words, you have these subtractions out of that, and this line follows this shape. And if you just tried to add them as pads and then come back and subtract out the pockets there, when you go to fillet it, it would do something. Oh, what it would do is at the end here, it would have a tendency to curl this up. And you can see, it looks like it's doing that right there, but the top of this is just at that angle. So what would happen is it would come up here and it would give you this weird transition, and when you looked at it in the plan view, it would also have some kind of a weird transition.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that's just the radius falling off.
Yeah.
Does the bottom side have a ribs also? Okay, it's just plain.
No, it's plain.
Okay.
Yeah, it's plain. And obviously, I think the drawing shows that this shape is just like an inverse of this shape. So, and over here, as it ends here, this shape, it's exactly the same over here. So it comes out to the edge, but you have a hard line here. And that's probably why they didn't fillet it, because if you had that here, then you have a big transition of everything.
Can you show show the model again? Okay, so there's a, it's not flush on the bottom, there's a.
Correct, there's a gap at the bottom. Did everybody get the assignment? D2L is not giving me much feedback. Did it give anybody errors today? The first time I logged in, it said it was, there was an IT issue. I
Yeah.
tried to log in 3 times, it didn't take it, and then I waited for a half hour and I was able to get in, and then I just stayed on.
It sent it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, this is the only assignment for tonight. If you wanna stay and do it, that's fine. If you wanna do it at home, that's fine as well. And next week, we will have the second test. And then after that test, the following week, we're gonna get into KnowledgeWare and, some of the stuff that's in that book, one of the chapters. And it shows you a little bit of what you can do in KnowledgeWare. It's good. There's probably a handful of companies that use it. And then there's a couple of KnowledgeWare, there's a couple areas of KnowledgeWare that, like aerospace companies use all the time. Automotive companies, more like Stellantis now, use some of the stuff in KnowledgeWare where you can type in some parameters and basically change half the car with these parameters. And the reason that they do it is for rapid change. The part we're gonna be doing is pretty simple, but you'll see how you drive it with a spreadsheet, and you actually can drive the shape with a spreadsheet, and how the part will update, how you can pick certain parameters off a spreadsheet and build one form of the part, 2 forms, or 3 forms of the part. So that's what we'll be getting into the following week.
Oh, look at that hidden back.
So that's all I had. I will be here until 9:45. So if there's any questions, please ask.